right. I think we still have a few people that are going to trickle in here, but I'm going to kick us off. So, hi everyone. I'm Zanny Culkin, a product marketing manager here at Capacity. Good morning. And if you guys are new to Capacity webinars, then welcome. And if not, then welcome back. We're really glad that you guys are here. Our webinar topic this time around is AI is here, now what? A practical guide for executive leadership. I'm here with my colleague, Scott Littman, who I will pass over to introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. Scott Littman, SVP at Capacity. And my history is I'm a 5-time tech founder. My focus has always been on digital transformation. What's the latest technology that's going to change the way people go to market, how they operate in business? I've been in AI for over a decade. I have 6 patents in AI, and I'm looking forward to sharing a bit of perspective on what we're seeing in the market today.
Yeah, and so I've been hearing so much from our customers that AI has really been overwhelming, and businesses are either implementing it quickly or they don't really know where to start. So let's talk about it. Today, we're going to dive deep into what AI actually is, how we got here, how it's evolving. We'll discuss AI in customer operations today, and we'll also poke holes in the build versus buy discussion. And we'll briefly talk about our differentiators as a lot of vendors out there are starting to implement AI in their tools. And then we'll also review AI safety and give you guys some tips on how to evaluate AI vendors. And finally, we'll wrap with a concrete action plan that you guys can take back to your leadership on how to get started. So hopefully after today, you guys can walk away with a clear strategy, better questions to ask your teams and vendors, and a practical starting point. So to get us started, I'm going to pass it over to Scott to share some AI history.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I really just want to provide a bit of perspective on kind of the where we're at and how we got there. And for myself, I get the opportunity to work with business leadership at so many different companies, companies of different size, in different industries, and a few observations. The first is that most of the leaders I talk to feel like they are behind, like everybody's doing it better than they are. There's a ton of FOMO out there, and it's, the hype cycle is so fast, and even their personal use of the tools makes them think, we've got to be doing better as a business. And the reality today, though, is that individuals are getting tremendous benefit from this technology. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, they've all given us superpowers as individuals. But in the enterprise, this is so much harder. Unlike the personal tools that are based on public data, in the enterprise, particularly for companies with 50 or more employees, there are challenges of disparate platforms, multimodal data, enterprise security, access controls, all of which makes it harder to deploy the technology across a company. And a little bit on the kind of how we got here and where we're at. I was speaking at an industry event, and I was doing a keynote, and I asked the people that were there how long they'd been working with AI. And the average response was 2 to 3 years. But of course, that's not right. What they were responding to was how long have they been working with generative AI, which has been with us for just over 3 years. But AI has been with us for a long time. Most of us have been using it routinely for 20 years. And the history of AI goes back to the early 1950s. But in the early era, and for those of you that are, in your 35 or older, probably the first time you heard about AI, was in science fiction, really until about the 2000s. Now, for most of us, though, our journey with AI, our first uses would be things like Amazon and Netflix early on had recommendation engines that were driven by AI, the algorithms that have been driving your news feed, whether back in the day it was Facebook or more recently, Instagram, TikTok, and things like that. It's all AI driven. Google has been an immense or an immense system of machine learning and AI, for 15 plus years. So we've all been using AI in our daily lives. Even in business, the pre-ChatGPT era, enterprise IT products like HubSpot, Salesforce, Oracle, ServiceNow, Tableau, and many, many others had significant AI components and features that drove them. So we've all been using this for quite some time. But the world changed in November of 2022 when ChatGPT came out. And even for people in the industry, and for myself, for example, we had partnered with OpenAI and incorporated GPT into our platform for answer summarization 2 years before anybody had heard of ChatGPT. And yet, when it came out, when ChatGPT came out, generative AI blew us away like everyone else. We didn't see it coming, even though we had been immersed in the foundational tech. It was a huge leap forward. Literally, what was science fiction in October of 2022 was a reality in November of 2022. Now, it's been just over 3 years on this wave of technology, and the pace of change for it has been unrelenting. I've always thought, as a tech founder, that I've lived in dog years because technology progresses so quickly. But these last 3 years, we've been living in hamster years. It just is that fast. And so, on this theme of a perspective, one of the things that I really have always thought about is Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm. It helps us understand where people are at in their cycle of technology adoption. And Moore's Crossing the Chasm, you can see there are different stages from the innovators all the way to the laggards. And there's this piece that's the chasm. And there's a lot of technology that gets hyped up. We see it in the news, we see it in certain blogs or publications and the like. And then, a year or two later, you're like, what happened to it? If it didn't become mainstream, it fell in the chasm. And a lot of technology falls in the chasm. But clearly, AI, particularly this generative AI, has easily leaped over that chasm. So when I think about this, there's two different journeys. One is the journey of the individual. So individuals have been adopting AI. Your employees have been adopting AI. And for the people that were in that first wave of users, the first 60 days, and there were a lot of them, no technology platform has ever grown faster than ChatGPT. It reached 100 million users in 2 months, which is astounding. And so for those people, they were the early adopters. And as ChatGPT and generative AI flew over the chasm, the people that started to adopt it in 2023 would be the early majority. Those that adopted in 2024 would have been the late majority. And for those that adopted in 2025, those would be the laggards. And by the way, if somehow you haven't adopted, I'll let you in on a little secret, which is this stuff is here to stay. So it's probably time to get on board. But companies' adoption is very different, particularly for businesses with 50 or more employees. If you've just got a handful of employees, you're probably using the personal tools. Your adoption probably resembles your individual usage. But for businesses that are adopting, it's very different. And it's different because of the challenges we talked about earlier, because of disparate platforms, enterprise security, data access, and all of that. I saw a quote just yesterday from Robert Half, and it says, technology is changing faster than employees can get up to speed. And this is most pronounced amongst small and mid-sized companies. And it's just indicative of there's a different adoption cycle for business. And by the way, to be clear, I'm not saying there hasn't been investments in time, energy, and dollars over these last 3 years, but adoption requires success, and success at deploying systems that go enterprise-wide, that go to production. And for many, this has been a struggle. There's a stat, and it's from August 2025, which might as well be a light year away. It's 6 months old, but I think it's still indicative, which is MIT put out a study that said that 95% of all AI pilots in the first 3 years of generative AI did not make it to production. Now, I think that things have been improving quite a bit, even just in these last few months, but businesses are on a journey. And while individuals that adopt today are laggards, businesses are much earlier in the cycle. And you might look at your own company and say, well, are we on the, were we an early adopter? And, were we really into this, and had we transformed our business a year ago? Or are we still struggling? Oftentimes I meet businesses, they don't have AI policies in place. They don't have tools for AI orchestration amongst their platforms. They haven't crossed over yet. And so I think what we're seeing in today's market is that many businesses are falling into that kind of early majority for their adoption cycle. But we'll chat about that a bit more in a second too. So as your company proceeds with AI, whether you were an early adopter or you're still figuring out, I think it's helpful to think about this AI value pyramid. This is something we use at Capacity as we think about how to support our customers' journey. Now, the first stage of this, the foundation, is around personal or individual productivity. Can we help employees leverage this technology to become more productive, more efficient? This is a great place to start, but really, everybody should be there. This should be the table stakes. And what we really ought to be thinking about is how to climb this pyramid, because in the middle tier of this pyramid, we want to move beyond productivity and think about how to make our products, our services, or our customer experience better. And ultimately, what we really should strive for is to get to the top of the pyramid where we get competitive advantage, which is tricky because the foundational AI out there is available to everybody. So really, it's how do you adopt this? How do you make yourself better? How do you drive competitive advantage by getting there faster and better than our competition? So with that, it's still early in many ways. Well, it's still early in 2026. But what we have seen from an industry standpoint is so many pilots and POCs in the prior years. But 2026 is going to be the year of adoption, when businesses start to say they're AI first and mean it, where businesses remake their processes around AI and transform their company and don't just get personal productivity and efficiency, but actually make their company more competitive, provide better products and services. And with that, I want to turn it over to Zany, who's going to take us through how that's going to happen.
Yeah, and thanks, Scott. First off, this isn't a super technical AI session, okay? We're not going to talk about model architectures. This is really about what you as leaders actually need to decide and do going forward. If you think back a few years, just kind of piggybacking off of what Scott said, AI mostly meant chunky chatbots like IVRs and keyword searches, but you could tell that you were talking to a robot. And as Scott mentioned, around late 2022, with the tools like ChatGPT, everything really jumped a level, or 10 levels, really. So suddenly systems could start to understand real language, reason across information, and even take actions. By 2026, right, this isn't really a fun experiment anymore. It's really becoming table stakes. So the same way that having a CRM or a website is just assumed nowadays, now implementing AI in your tech stack is also just assumed. So at the same time, right, costs are going up, live agents they're expensive, volume keeps climbing, but AI can handle a pretty significant chunk of those interactions for a fraction of the cost. And a lot of companies today have a pile of disconnected tools. They have an IVR here, a chatbot here, maybe some RPA somewhere else. And that kind of works, right? But it creates these inconsistent experiences and no real single source of truth. So the real question is, now that AI is actually usable and scalable, how do you move from a random experiment to actual intentional AI strategy that lowers your costs and improves your customer experience without creating technical mess, right? And that's why Scott and I are here. We want to give you guys a practical guide as executives. We know that every business is different, and you should rely on your vendors to be the subject matter experts. And that's our goal, to be that for you, so that when you walk out of here, you have enough understanding to go back to your business, start identifying your gaps or opportunities to implement AI tools, and be able to shape a strategy that keeps you guys modern and aligned with where the market is heading as AI evolves. So let me ground this in something a little bit more practical. So there are really three places in AI where AI consistently delivers high ROI value in customer operations, and that is voice, messaging, and analysis. Okay, so first, with voice AI, if you run a contact center, this is usually where the cost sits. When you can offload a meaningful chunk of routine inbound and outbound calls, things like simple questions, call routing, payments, scheduling, reminder notifications, things like that, you will get shorter wait times, lower handle costs, and 24/7 support without staffing to scale. And just to address the common misconception out there, this really isn't about replacing customer service experience or agents for that matter. It's about taking the repetitive tier 1 work off your agents so they can focus on the harder, high value conversations. Um, One example for voice, one of our customers, DSW, they rolled out a voice agent last year and saw a 30% lift in customer satisfaction. They saved 1.4 million in annual savings from average handle time and deflection alone, and they had a 19% reduction in hold times. So very impactful in just a short implementation window there. The second area where we're really seeing high ROI value is messaging AI, and that's SMS, chatbots, even email. So these channels are really, really great for quick text moments, status checks, appointment changes, basic troubleshooting. Customers really like it because it's fast and it's low effort. It meets them where they are. And the businesses like it because it pulls volume off of the phones and it lets agents focus on those more complex use cases. Another customer example for this is one of our customers, Culligan. They just recently launched an SMS virtual agent. And in the first 60 days, they booked 3,000 meetings. So think of that, an SMS agent, a channel they didn't have before, 3,000 meetings in 60 days, which is huge. That's tied directly to about $650,000 in annual revenue. And now that SMS bot handles 50 to 100 interactions a day. And a lot of that stuff happens after hours and on weekends, which is where it's incredibly impactful. The third area is analytics AI. Okay, this to me, I think this is really the quiet superpower here. Instead of manually reviewing maybe 1 to 2% of calls, you can now analyze 100% of them. That means that you can flag compliance risk, you can find broken processes, surface coaching opportunities immediately. So your contact center then becomes more of a high value data engine for your business. An example is one of our customers, Thrasio, implemented an auto QA piece of technology and saw about $260,000 in annual savings. And they went from reviewing 3% of calls to 100% of interactions. It would have taken a team of 520 analysts to do that. Okay. And then they also hit a 97% customer satisfaction score. So when you put those three together, the outcomes are pretty straightforward. You've got lower cost per interaction, faster response times, higher customer satisfaction, and fewer missed chances to capture revenue because someone maybe sat on hold for too long or never got a follow up. Um, okay, my favorite topic. Now let's talk about build versus buy. um, okay, the classic question every exec is getting now: should we build our own AI or LLMs in house, or should we partner with someone? Okay, when people say we'll just build it, they are usually picturing a couple of really smart engineers hooking up APIs. But in reality, building your own LLM stack means data scientists, machine learning engineers, machine learning ops people, infrastructure, security, governance, the whole thing, right? So we know this firsthand because we've already made those investments through our acquisitions. We're at 15 now, right? So we're running the models, we're optimizing them, we're handling upgrades, and we're absorbing all of the lessons from many customers all at one time. So the true cost to build isn't just licenses. It's millions in talent, months or years of lead time, and then it's a permanent maintenance burden just to stay current and reliable. And on the other hand, when you buy, you're not just renting software, right? You are getting models that are already trained and battle tested. You're getting a roadmap, a best practices, guardrails on what's worked and what's not worked elsewhere. You're also getting a team whose full-time job it is to make you successful, is to make sure that this implementation is successful inside your environment. So the real decision, it's not, can our team technically do this? They probably can, right? The question is this where you want to spend your time? Is it where you want to spend your money and your focus? Or do you just want to plug into something that's already operating at scale and move faster, right? Okay, so this wouldn't, I don't know if I can go to the next.
Well, and Zany, I wanted to jump in on build versus buy for 1 second.
Sure.
There are two really big people equations that come with build versus buy as well. One is no matter how sharp your IT team is, and businesses have lots of talent inside, but they've got lots of demands. They're responsible for lots of systems and lots of users. And how can they keep up with everything that they're responsible for, plus somehow stay on the leading edge of everything that's happening in AI when it's moving in these hamster years? And so even if they can build something or build the right thing, can they maintain it? Can they build it? Can they keep focused on it? It's really hard. The other thing is that uh, we get the opportunity to work with so many different companies. We have thousands of customers. And so we are learning on the front lines every day what works, what doesn't, how to evolve it, how to make it better, what's next. And there's no way that an internal team has that opportunity to learn from the rest of the industry the way that we get to. And then the last piece of build versus buy that's so critical is the people equation of support. It's not just a matter of build it and they will come. Build it, let's put it out there, and they're going to be just fine with it. There is going to be training. There is going to be ongoing user support. There's going to be remediation of problems. And there is going to be training, not just people, but of the AI systems themselves, optimizing and making them better and smarter. And so it's not just a matter of, can I take this API? Can I connect these systems? Can I put this interface in front and be done? Because these systems are organic and ongoing and require constant support and nurturing and evolution. And that's something that in the, when you buy from a vendor like a Capacity, but when you buy from a vendor, those are things that are coming with it, not just the IP itself.
Yep. Great points. Okay, so this would not be a proper webinar if we didn't review capacity differentiators. What makes us different from all the vendors out there right now implementing these AI solutions? And we have six differentiators that we want to walk you through with you guys. So number one, our biggest differentiator is we're a unified platform. Instead of bringing in 4 or 5 vendors, individual point solutions, you get one platform that handles voice, SMS, chat messaging, email, analysis in a cohesive way. So that means one implementation, one data model, and a seamless oversight and management. So that's first. Number 2 is a central AI knowledge layer. This is such an important component of what makes Capacity so special. It is really our ability to index multiple data sets where they live. You train your knowledge one time and it powers every channel of choice: voice, chat, email, analytics, SMS. This is really where you're going to see the most lift from us from an implementation perspective. A lot of businesses get nervous about that timeline from signature to launch. Ours is roughly 60 days. I've seen and had accounts launch as quickly as 4 days, but our standard is 60 days. This keeps answers consistent and it drastically reduces the work required to maintain your content. Number 3, conversational intelligence expertise. So we don't just hand you tools, we bring playbooks from thousands of deployments across different verticals, different industries. Through our acquisitions as well, we've gained a portfolio of new business, so which comes with extensive knowledge of different industries. And these are international as well. We've acquired many international companies. So that knowledge really allows us to be the best advisors in this space. And we've worked through thousands of different customer or employee support scenarios revolving around conversational AI. Our team helps design your flows. They tune your prompts, they lead your implementations, they help you identify and stick to key milestones, and they also shape your overall strategy so you're not, guessing what to do next. Number 4 is the built-in learning loop. This is such a cool piece of capacity portfolio, in my opinion, is our auto QA, our analysis AI. That lets us analyze every interaction, so human and virtual, and it feeds insights back into your system. So over time, your agents and automations both get smarter, closing those knowledge gaps and improving deflection. Number 5 is measurable business impact. The outcome is lower cost per contact, right? So 24/7 availability, higher customer satisfaction scores that we've seen across many of our clients, and less burnout for your team. I've seen and had several customers dramatically reduce their overall spend after implementing these AI tools in as quickly as weeks' time. So our previous timelines, where it took, a long time to implement is now gone with these tools. So your ROI is much clearer and it's instantaneous. So we determine what those metrics are with you, and then we'll track it for you. And then finally is our rapid time to value. Because we use pre-trained models by industry, you're not starting from a blank slate. You can start from a blank slate, but you don't have to. Things like key industry trigger words tied into escalation practices, for example. So if someone on the end of the line says the word sale and that's one of your trigger words, then we instantly escalate it to a live agent. Most customers start seeing real value in weeks and often in the first month, not a year down the road, right? So let's talk about evaluating vendors. I can't click through for some reason, Scott. You might need to, there we go. Okay, so how to evaluate AI. When you're evaluating any AI vendor, including us, the best move is to ask the right questions, not to become an AI engineer. So things like, how is my data protected and isolated? How do you measure and control accuracy? What happens when the AI is uncertain? How does it hand off to a human? How do I audit decisions and conversations? So that's number 1. Ask better questions, right? Number 2 is don't just fall in love with the demo. Anyone can make one workflow look great, right? You want to understand the governance, the architecture, the outcomes. So you want to be able to ask, like, what results are similar customers actually seeing? How hard is it to maintain content and manage the back end flows 6 months down the road, a year down the road, right? The reality is too that most organizations haven't implemented virtual agents at scale before, right? This is new, and that's okay. You shouldn't have to figure this out by yourself. You really want a partner who's done this dozens or hundreds of times and can say, hey, here's what works and here's what to avoid. So that's a role that we try to play. We were in this space as soon as OpenAI came out. I remember our product manager immediately implemented it into our system. And we now have a bird's eye view across thousands of customers. And we see what's working in terms of call deflection, prompting, models, use cases that drive value. And we bring that back to you. So when we say trust us, it's not trust our marketing, it's just trust the pattern of results that we can show you and the fact that our incentives are aligned with getting you real ROI. I think Scott has an action plan. Yep, go ahead.
I do. So I'll actually start with the far right, which is the easy one is if you're in a point where you don't know what to do next, or you're in that FOMO stage and aren't sure even where to start. One of the things we offer is an AI assessment. It's part of my role in the company is to lead that strategy for our customers. And so it can be really helpful if you're in the early stages of this, or even you've deployed some, but you're not happy with where you're at and you want to kind of come up with that plan for what's next. We try to keep the strategy stuff really fast because the technology is moving so quickly. So the AI assessments tend to be 4 weeks. And it's just a really easy way to kind of develop a plan, develop prioritization, and develop focus. But for many businesses, they know what's next. They have the system that they that they want to optimize. They have the business challenge or problem that they want to automate. And so for that, pick that area of the business that you want to automate, that you want to bring into a greater level of automation and optimization. We'll work with you to define the key metrics. What are the things that we need to be able to demonstrate that we've improved on, so we know that we've been successful? And then uh, we want to really have those quick hit pilots. One of the things that's amazing is just how fast some of these things can be pulled together, really at a different pace than any of the prior generation of software. So how do we pilot fast and move from pilot to production quickly? Learn, build the pilot with the idea this is going to production. 60 days, 90 days, let's get it built, let's get it out there, let's get it making a difference in the business, and then go production with it. So two different. One, you kind of have the idea of where you want to go, and how, whether it's us or the appropriate vendor can get you there. And then the other is that you're still kind of formulating the plan, and we have an AI assessment that helps with that. So with that, and this is a new platform, so I have to see how the whole chat side of this works for Q&A.
I have a question. I think I have a question from the audience for you, Scott. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. So how do you balance speed, efficiency, and growth with data privacy concerns? And where do you see AI tools in 5 years? So we'll start with that first one. How do you balance speed, efficiency, and growth with data privacy concerns?
Yeah. So it kind of depends on the journey for the company. Ideally, a company has AI policies and procedures in place. What data can interact with which AI systems for which use cases, how well is it secured? If you already have good practices on data management, if you already have good practices on access controls, then the AI orchestration layer you put on top of it already is going to reflect that, and you're going to be in a good spot. If data is everywhere, if you don't have proper controls, you are forced into trying to resolve that first, or the AI is just going to supercharge your security and data access problems and actually make them far worse.
Yeah. Where do you see AI tools in 5 years, Scott?
That's a scary question. The the today scenario, we are seeing individuals getting superpowers. We are seeing businesses that have adopted being able to do things at a speed that wasn't achievable 6 months, a year, certainly 3 years ago. The pace of change isn't going to let up. And we are going to be needing to think not just how do we optimize our processes, but how do we remake our company in some cases around what's available. And it is really hard to predict the 5 years out, because you just look at the 3 years that we've just had and what was exciting 3 years ago and how mundane that is versus what is around today. I think the key for any business, though, is a mentality of constant evolution, and realizing that just because you solve the problem today doesn't mean you've solved the problem for 6 months from now, and how you need to continue to grow and optimize, because if you don't, your competition will.
Yeah, right now is really the time to be adaptive. Like this is just growing so fast. People are learning things day in and day out. So you really do need to be adaptive as a business when you're thinking about implementing these AI tools. We did have a question in the chat. I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions, but is there a multilingual component to your service line? And the answer is yes. We do have multiple languages that we support in across all of our channels. And I believe the number, I believe it's 30 plus, Scott. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe we're up to 100.
Up to 100. There we go.
Which, there's like dialects of like Hindi and some specialized things in China that we can't hit, but all the mainstream stuff we've got.
Yep. Okay. Are there any other questions out there? Let's see if I can pull any others in that we might have missed. Any advice, Scott, for getting team buy-in?
Uh, yeah, well, it really is the question coming from the executive or is it coming from the team? Because they end up being different equations. But either way, it's critical to get everybody on the same page. Successful adoption of any platform, any technology, requires both the willingness of the team and the people that are the users to want to improve, and it requires executive support for funding, sponsorship, leadership, so that everybody comes along. Ideally, it's how do you align business leadership with the folks that are the users, as well as with the technology resources, internal or vendor, to make sure that there is alignment.
All right. Okay, I think that was everything that we had. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Scott. We're both on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with us if you have any questions. And then, of course, if you would like to do an AI assessment with us and just kind of assess and evaluate where you are in your AI journey, feel free to click on that link in the webinar, the Learn More, and we can work with you on that going forward. All right, Scott, anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a good rest of your week.